welcome back to SAS Enterprise Guides. This is my second video, and we're going to have a look at importing data into SAS. So the last video I made was based on libnames, so we're going to carry on from where we left off. I've already run the libname, so we've got the libname data set up already, so we can go straight ahead and import an XLS file into SAS. So all you need to do is go up to File at the top. This is an easy process. Import data. There we go. And then I can go to Sample Superstore Sales. Double click on that. Now you want to choose. Often SAS will default to SAS user, and that's just one of the SAS default locations. But if you click on Browse and then Libraries, you can see the data library that we created previously. So I'm just going to amend this slightly. There we go. Sample Superstore Sales. If we save that, that's going to save it in the data library. So in C, SAS, data. There we go. So click on Next. Now you've got a choice. The data that I'm importing does have headers. So column A is called something, column B is called something else, etc. If you didn't have that, you would untick this box. If the data in your XLS or your import file didn't have any headers at all, untick that, because the first row doesn't contain field names. Mine does, so I'm going to tick it. This is a little bit of a strange thing in SAS. It always gives you the option of renaming columns to comply with SAS naming conventions, and what that basically means is it's going to put underscores instead of spaces between the names. Now, as far as I'm aware, you have to have that in SAS, and it defaults to that anyway, so why you wouldn't have that, I'm not too sure. So always tick that. Click on Next, and then it gives you a sample of the data that you're actually importing, once it's determined the field attributes. So this data set has somewhere in the region of 7,000 to 10,000 rows of data. So that's imported now. So this shows you in the name what the actual names of the data you've imported are. So again, if you didn't have those in there and all you had was data in A, B, C, D, etc., and you didn't tick that, I'll show you as an example, what you would have is the ability to create those names yourself at this stage within SAS. Now obviously you can do it in the data set beforehand. You can open up your CSV or your XLS file and insert names in there. Here we go. So you can see it just shows it as F1 to F, however many rows or columns you have. But we're going to actually import it with the names of the fields. So we go to Back, tick that again. That is quite useful if you had an occurrence where you imported some data that did have field headings but you wanted to change them or remove them. Simply untick that box and it'll go back to F1, F2, F3, which could be useful. So once that is imported, there we go. I always have a cursory check over the names. Should always be fine. You don't want any double underscores or anything, but it all looks okay. And just have a quick look at the type. So SAS will excuse me, import the data depending on the type of data in each column. So whether it's a number, a string, text, a date field, etc. And you can change that in there. So we've got a couple of date fields in here, I believe. Let's have a look. We've got one there, some numbers and some strings. Have we got any more date fields? And another date one there. So they're both in as a date, which is fine. So we click Next and Finish. You can just click Finish at that point. SAS will then go ahead and import that data set and convert it into a SAS data set, which we can then use to analyze and manipulate within SAS within a proc SQL statement. So that should be fairly quick. There we go. So that's imported my sample data set. Now this data set is just a sample data set that I got from Google, just to show you how easy it is to import data into SAS. So we can see we've got number fields, we've got order, dates, some text string fields, numbers, some values in there, which you can put in currency fields. I normally just leave those as numbers. It's far easier to and more straightforward to use, just by leaving those as numbers instead of putting a currency mark against them. So that's your data imported. You can always see how many you've got by just clicking on that. There's upwards of 8,000 bits of data in there. You can scroll through to any point you want, but that is your data set within SAS. It's also now stored in the folder that we've already created in there, in C SAS data, because that's the data lib name, the path that we gave to that folder. So because we've imported data into SAS and created a SAS data set, it's saved in there, in that folder for you. So that's it, that's importing data. So just to recap, you would go to File, Import Data, choose the lib name that you want, where you want, of the path where you want to save the data. Choose whether you want to include or not include the field headings if there are any. Have a check through the names and the formats of each and import the data. And there you go. So that's the second video. The next video we will be looking at something called an auto-exec file. Now that's it's a really simple but really effective file that you can use to create variables within SAS, and it'll make your life a lot easier. So please feel free to rate, comment or subscribe, and check out my other videos. Thank you. See you next time.